Okay, so the time equity continuum sounds kind of science fictiony, but it is really the way we judge ownership, or not judge, but classify ownership of vacation properties. Okay, so one end we have pure time, the other we have pure equity. All right, equity is ownership in this case. All right, in this instance. So pure time, I don't own anything. I go in, I do my vacation, I leave. I have to pay for the room and for whatever, but then I don't have money tied up on it forever. It's just I pay for it and then I leave. All right. I don't have to worry about selling it. I don't have to worry about losing money if I sell it too low or getting any money for it if I sell it high. I don't have that privilege or that responsibility. It's completely out of my hands. Pure time. Pure equity is I own something, right? Pure equity is it's my property, it's my land, it's my taxes to pay, it's my money tied up in this thing. That is pure equity. Okay, so why do we say that in a class like resorts? Because resorts will have both of these things and some things in between. All right, so that's the primary difference between a resort and a hotel. Resorts are not just big hotels. Many resorts, much of the housing there in a resort is leaning towards more pure equity or more equity than time. Okay, so let's talk about some of those. Pure equity would be traditional. I mean, excuse me. Pure time would be the traditional lodging. You go in, you pay for the room, and then you leave. And then we start to have things like vacation rentals, a little bit. It's the same, but might be like for um, maybe bigger properties or whatever. All right, but then we start getting into timeshares. Timeshares now we start to have a little equity. I own a timeshare. Now I don't own that room, but I own time in that room. I own a period of ownership, right? For however many weeks a year, it is mine. Okay, um, and the price of that is divvied up for the different people. So they take the price of the unit and they figure out how much they can sell each time slot for as a portion of the whole. All right. Now we're starting to get into ownership here because you can't just walk away from many timeshares. You actually have to try to sell them. Okay, or sell them back to the company and whatever. But there is equity there. Then we start getting into destination clubs. Destination clubs are sort of like timeshares, but basically it's a club, right? Any kind of club, you pay a fee to be a member of the club, right? Um, and this one, you pay a big fee, like almost the price of a home, or half the price of a home, a third of the price of a home, a quarter of the price of a home. But it's big, it's money, okay? And then you pay your yearly fee or your monthly fee or whatever. And what you have is the ability to make reservations at different properties within the organization. Right? Now, sometimes that'll be different geographical locations, sometimes it'll be all the same, whatever, but that is a destination club. Okay, so you can see now that we have a little bit more equity because you have a lot more money tied up in it. Okay, so now, then we go into condos, condominium hotels, or condominiums, period. A condo is you're buying a home, but you're buying it you're buying your room, your physical room, home, but it's on somebody else's property, and so you're not 100% equity, but you're getting there. All right. Now, and a lot of resorts will have several condominiums. The resort that I worked at, we had three or four big buildings. One of them were more like hotel rooms with just maybe a kitchen, not even a kitchenette, but just a hotel room, but a nice hotel room. Then you had some that were like condominiums, but they were still traditional lodging in that there was pure time and zero equity. You paid for it and then you left. Then we had ones that were pure, well, I won't say pure equity, but getting much more into the equity. They were traditional condominiums. People owned them, right? They were owners. We treated our owners different than we just did the regular renters. And the first time I heard the word owner, I was freaking out. I thought this the person that owned the entire resort was coming. They're like, one of the owners is coming. I was like, ah! But it's basically just folks who lived there. All right, they might not have lived there, but it was their. If they wanted to, they could because it was their condominium. They bought it And when they wanted to leave, they either sold it back to the resort or they tried to sell it to somebody else or whatever. Okay, but it was, they could decorate it they want, they could do whatever. It was theirs. Okay, so we're starting to get more onto the level of pure ownership, but not quite. And then we have pure ownership. Many resorts are built, created by developers, right? Really. So when they buy a big area around a, or create a amenity like a golf course or whatever, they are setting aside spaces to provide condominiums, timeshares. Maybe not. I mean, but most of the time you're going to have multiple uses, right? You're not going to have, or multiple points along the continuum. You're not going to have, most resorts are not going to have just pure time. All right. So what they're going to do, the developers will set aside pure time traditional lodging, and they'll set aside some that are similar to that, but are that could be opened up for timeshares and then condominiums and then actual homes that people are renting and eventually buying. So getting more of your pure equity. And then the far end, somebody just buys property, builds a home. That's 100% equity. So you have uh, pure time, pure equity. Pure time, you rent a room, pure equity. I own mi casa, right? It's my place. All right. So it's important to understand that when we're talking about resorts, because resorts are not just fancy hotels. There might be a fancy hotel on a resort, but there also might be pure equity or very close to pure equity homes on the resort. Okay, so hopefully this explained that to you. And okay.